Welcome to the Personal Trainer Hustle. Personal Trainer Hustle. If you didn't know, you do now.
Welcome back to the Personal Trainer Hustle, everyone. Your host here, Sam Lopez, host of Personal Trainer Hustle, owner of Logic Fitness. And today we have a Q&A episode regarding starting a business. So that's what we're going to be talking about today, legitimizing your own personal training business and how to think about growth. So that's the question that got sent in. We'll get into that in a little bit. Thank you guys, all of you guys that have been sending in messages, following the Instagram account. If you guys have not followed me on Instagram yet, make sure to go to @PersonalTrainerHustle. That's me. Make sure you go to @PersonalTrainerHustle. I'll have it linked in the episode as well, so you guys can just click it and head over there, hit the follow, send me a DM. A lot of you guys have been sending me really kind messages. I just got one from Portugal that was a long, heartfelt message. So just want to let you know I saw that. And, it was really moving to see how much help the podcast has been for you. So I will be replying to you actually today as well, because I saw it, but I have not replied. So that's the Instagram account. And obviously, if you want to send in your own question to personaltrainerhustle.com, make sure to go to personaltrainerhustle.com and you can send in your question. Today's episode is just that. Somebody sent in a question on the website, and today we are answering it on this episode. So that is what we're going to jump into today. Let's read the question sent in today by listener Dan. Listener Dan wants to know, what are the steps to set up a legit PT business, and when do you make changes to match your growth? That's a great question, especially the second part, because a lot of times we don't talk about stuff like that. But even the word legit PT business, that's what I'm going to be focusing on today, okay? Because it's true. A lot of us start personal training businesses, meaning that we just start training people. Maybe we train them at a gym. Maybe we train them at the park. Maybe we train them in their houses. Maybe we train them in our own home or our own garages. Wherever we train people, yeah, you started a business. Yeah, they're paying you. And yeah, you are training them. But I like the word that Dan used in his question. It says legit PT business. How do we start a legit PT business? And a lot of people are not thinking about this, but I can see that he's thinking about growth, because he also mentions, when do you know to make changes to match your growth? So very good question on both sides. But this is a very good topic, because at some point, the sooner the better, but at some point you need to legitimize your business if you are going to grow. So I'm going to give you the example of my business, right? I have a personal training studio. I have employees, right? I have staff. I have a lease on a location. And those things, right? I have the city that has to give me a permit. There are a lot of different things that have to happen for me to have employees, for me to take payments, for me to pay them, to pay the taxes, to have a lease. There are legitimate things that go into this. You don't get to do stuff like this, right? So for those of you guys that are thinking of going further in your personal training careers, if you are thinking about having a gym, having employees, having locations, then you need to start thinking about being legitimate. And the longer you can be legitimate, the more you can build certain things around it. If you wait to legitimize till the very end, you may be a little further behind in just your awareness, in your growth potential, things like that. So again, different stages require different things. When you're brand new, sometimes you just don't have the money to invest. Sometimes you don't have the certainty, right? You're not sure if this is even going to work. So, if you pay for a lot of these things, how do you know you're going to get enough clients? You haven't figured that part out yet, right? You haven't figured out a lot of the business, the marketing, the growth stuff. You're still even figuring out just how to be a good trainer. And so wherever you are, every step of the way requires different things. But today we're going to talk about, should you be in a position where you want to legitimize your business? We're going to talk about that a little bit today, okay? There's no particular order that I'm going to talk about this in. I try to have some notes and have an order, but we're just going to get into it, okay? All of these things are important at different points. So we're going to talk first about the legitimizing of a business, what that means. And then afterwards, we're going to talk about the changes, the second part of the question, right? Changes for growth. And what does that mean? And how do we get ready for growth, or how do we, participate in growing beyond certain levels? So let's see if we can cover all of that today. So number one, the first thing you want to do when you legitimize a business is you want to have your business be registered in your state. Now, I don't know in other countries. I know you guys listen in other countries just because my stats tell me, but also I've gotten questions from the UK. I've gotten a message from Portugal now. So I don't know the legalities of other countries, right? I am in California and I am in the States. And so I'm going to speak to that, but I hope that you can be wise enough to understand that business probably has a similar way of functioning, whatever state you're in or whatever country you may be in. So the first thing you want to do is figure out how you want your company to be registered with practically the government, okay, for lack of a better term. Now, here we have local government, we have city, we have state, and we have federal, right? We have the country. And so different things require different paperwork, different registrations, depending on what you're doing, right? So let's take it just for the state. The first thing you need to do in whatever state that you're in, you need to go to the state franchise like offices. Um, and you can look that up. We have the internet now, so wherever it is, you look for the franchise tax board in your state, and you can go and talk to them about starting your company. You can also do it on their website. If you just find the website, usually it's going to be the Secretary of State. That's actually who deals with, at least in the states, right? The Secretary of State is the one that deals with the local business that you're trying to start. And so when you go online, you may see Secretary of State. That means that you are in the right place. The Franchise Tax Board is kind of like the bigger governing body, I believe. And so that, there's just different names, different ways to achieve the same thing. Um, a very easy way to do it, especially in the States, is the easier way. You have to pay a little bit, but this way you don't have to go to the offices. You don't have to call. You don't have to set appointments. You don't have to go on their website. The easier way to do it is to hire something like LegalZoom, right? So this is not a sponsorship or an ad for LegalZoom, but I have used LegalZoom in the past when I want to start a business or when I want to legitimize an idea or a DBA, whatever it is, and we'll talk about DBA in a little bit. Whatever it is, there are services and they represent you. So they do all the paperwork through their website. You give them all the information, they send it to the correct places, they get it registered, and then they give it back to you. Okay. So whether you want to, and you don't have to use LegalZoom, there are other, I didn't do any research on other ones. I can just tell you that LegalZoom is a company that deals with legitimizing businesses and a lot of other legal things. But wherever you're at, you can look for help. You can type it in. Sometimes people are specialized in setting up businesses for you, so they kind of represent you. So that's another way to do it. Or you can go directly to wherever you need to go to where you live to set up your business. In the States, it's going to be the state that you're in. That's what you're going to have to figure out. The Secretary of State deals with the businesses of the state that you live in. Now, there's another level to it, which is more local, and that is your city permits. Okay, that comes after. So once you have a legitimate business, then you're going to go and get a city permit, depending on the city that you're doing business in, the city that you got your location in, or the city that you live in. If you're doing a business out of home, then that's another level that you have to look into is, what does my city require? So I'm going to give you an example of why it's important to look into the city and where you're going to do business. And even before you get your legitimate business registered with the state, you may want to do some research in your city. Let me tell you why. Because every city has different requirements for businesses in that city. So what the city does is they monitor what goes on, right? So what happens is maybe a city, let's say, already has um 20 gyms in this city. They may have certain requirements now for the new gyms coming in because it's getting oversaturated. And I'm just kind of speaking from kind of seeing it from afar. I've never talked to somebody that deeply about this or worked for the city. But just from having my own business, I realized when I went in, I'll give you a real example. When I went to the city, I first had gone to Santa Monica, which is a city nearby where I am. A lot of people have heard it, right? Even if you've never been to California, you know about Santa Monica. So I went to the Santa Monica City Hall. They deal with the businesses and everything that goes on in their city. That's their city hall. And they had certain requirements for opening up a gym in that one. Then I went to Culver City because I found another location that was kind of on the west side, but it was in a different jurisdiction, right? It was in a different city. And then they had a requirement, a very simple one, but they had a requirement that I never forgot, which is for parking spaces, right? They needed one parking space available just for your business per 100 square foot of space that you are leasing or using for your business. So when I went in, sometimes I would find locations that, you know, I would go in, I'd be like, oh, this is a great location. Let me go check with the city, and the city would say, well, that location, if you're opening up a gym there, you need to have 10 parking spaces because that's a big space. And now, even if I said, oh, no, but I'm going to have just one person in there or two people or whatever, they would say, based on the rules here, this size of space requires 10 parking spaces, or else we cannot give you permission to run your business in this city. And this is an issue a lot of people run into when they don't know how to legitimize a business. What they do is they start a business in their state, they go and they find a location. They're like, this is a perfect location. So they sign up, they sign the lease, 3 years, 5 year lease. They're ready to start. They start their business. And then somebody from the city, because they're in charge of the entire city, eventually they see this business and they see that in the books, this business does not have a permit to run in their city. So they're going to come and they're going to serve you a little, warning, or they're going to say you have to shut it down until you pass this requirement. The issue there is that there may be no way to fix the issue. For some businesses, there is, right? Let's say certain cities have requirements for wheelchair accessibility. So maybe your business, depending on what it is, may need the door to be a certain width, or they may need the bathroom to have certain um, amenities for people. Something like that you might be able to fix. So if that's the issue, they may say, hey, you can't do business until you make the door wider, or until you build a ramp, or until you have, handlebars for people in your bathroom, right? So whatever it is that comes up, sometimes you may be able to fix it later. And then they may say, okay, here's your permit. You can run your business. But some issues like parking may not be able to be fixed. So you now have an issue where you need to get out of the legal um, contract that you made with the person that leases you the business, right? Because this is very important for you guys to know. Everything that you do is independent of the other, right? So the person leasing you the location, they don't know if you know how to do business or not. Their business does not um, does not check into, and to them, it doesn't matter whether you have a permit or not. If you pass your background check and if you pass their credit check and you have the down payment and you sign the agreement, they're going to rent it out to you. They're going to lease it to you. If the city comes and they tell you, hey, you can't have business there, that is not the problem of the person that has leased you the location. That is your problem as a business person that did not know what the requirements were, right? So there's different levels to this. But I'm going to kind of go back a little bit just to put it all in order in case you guys are looking to have a location or train even at the park and things like that. Um, Again, you have to first decide what you're going to do with your business. Are you going to be an in-home business? Are you going to train at a local park? Are you going to have people come to your home, which is probably, if you're going to legitimize it, is probably going to make it very difficult because there's going to be rules that I have no idea what they are, but there's probably going to be permit rules at home. That's why a lot of trainers don't make the step of legitimizing things, because you're also going to run into issues. But, at some point, you have to, what I call, pay to play, right? Eventually, you're going to have to start taking on responsibilities and costs in order for the gain that may come with that. And there's no guarantee. You might get a location that you have to pay $5,000 a month for 3 years, but you only make $5,000 every month at max. And so you're really just net zero. You're not making any money. So there's a lot of little things to consider when it comes to getting locations and where you're going to go. So a lot of people just start with their local, moving around, training at parks or at homes, right? It makes it a little bit easier um, than having a business in a location, right? So when you start a business, the first thing you want to do is figure out what is the size potential, growth potential of this business. Why? Because when we're talking about registering your business with the state, right, which is what I opened up by saying, the first thing you need to do is figure out what kind of entity this is going to be, right? So we have, and I'm just going to rattle some off depending on, how much knowledge you have, but sometimes we have what is called a sole proprietorship. So what this means is that when you register the business, you are letting them know, I am I am the business, right? And this works for a lot of trainers, because a lot of trainers do not have employees, are never going to have employees, or may just have employees many years down the line, right? So it just depends. You have to kind of start where you're at. So if you do that, all that means is that you are legitimizing your business, and you're telling the state, you're telling, your city and your country, however you want to look at it, you're telling them, hey, I have a business, okay? I have a business, but my business is me. Okay. So I am self-employed. I train people, I charge them. I have a business. Um, but I want it to be legitimate so that I can have a business credit card, so I can have a business account, so I can have a business name that I can do my business under. If you want to do that and have it all legitimate, then you want to make sure that you register for that. Okay. When you get your insurance, you can do it under a different name. Now, one of the benefits of doing that is that you get what we call a DBA, doing business as. And what that does is, maybe if you want to call your personal training, let's take example, right? My gym is called Logic. It's not called Sam's personal training. It's not called, when I do my contracts, I don't put, and you waive liability from Sam Lopez, right? Like, you don't do my contracts don't say that. They say liability is waived for Logic. Your contract is with Logic. Their receipts say Logic. My lease, everything is under the name, right? So it allows me to function under a different name. I don't have to put my name on everything, right? So it's kind of the entity, just like Coca-Cola, just like Nike, right? When you have an entity, you can change the CEOs, you can change ownership, you can go from country to country, whatever it is, the entity is representing the entire brand. And so it allows you to do that, to do business as, and now you can have a business name. And that's important. If you understand a little bit about marketing, it's important to understand that that's a very valuable thing, because if you live in a city and you want to put, like, Sam Trains LA, that allows people to know, like, okay, he's a trainer, and he's a trainer in Los Angeles. So when I see that tag, I'm starting to recognize a brand, and the brand helps market the business. But if I just put Sam's personal training, people won't know that it's in Los Angeles. They don't know who Sam is. When the business grows, it has my name, but it may not be me doing the training anymore, which is fine. Some people name their businesses after themselves, last name Johnson and Johnson, right? Like, there's also businesses named after names. So there is no rules, but just for you and for your sake and the way that you're thinking and the way that you want to brand yourself, it's important to know that you can do and own a name even though you don't have a big old company, by doing a sole proprietorship. Okay. And so it just kind of has a distinction between you and a business, but only you can be the employee of this business. That's the difference. Now, that's a great place for a lot of people to be. Most self-employed people are at this level, right? A lot of people that do taxes, a lot of people that do consulting, a lot of, whatever, right? Builders, repairmen, trainers, all these people, they are their own business. They're self-employed, they're a business. They like to have a name, they have a brand, and sometimes the brand helps because it starts building a brand that may later evolve into a bigger business and the brand has already been created. So there's a lot of benefits to that. Now, the next level, now here's the I guess the issue with that, and a lot of people, this is why people sometimes don't go this route, and that is just simply that if there is a legal action towards the business, it's directly towards you. So let's say you own a house. This is just an example, just to simply understand kind of how this works. If you own a house and your business owes money or gets sued or whatever, the business is not a standalone business. The business is you. So they can go, well, the business owes this money. We can take money from this home. We may be able to, I don't know, make you sell the home or have some type of ownership over the home. Or, I don't know the legal part of this, but just as an example, right? They can start to get to your assets, whatever they may be, because the business is you, right? So it really only helps create a business and have a business account and have the marketing side and maybe have a credit card around the business, right? So it starts to evolve your business. It makes it legitimate, but everything that the business does is like you're doing it still. So it's kind of still just your name. Another level to it is where you pay and you create an LLC, limited liability corporation or company. Um, what this is, it can still be just you. It doesn't mean that you have to hire people, but what it does is you are paying into having a business that is completely standalone. And so all the contracts done under that business, all the liability taken on by that business, all the accounts by that business are separate from you. They are distinct from you. So if you own a home and the business does not own that home, they can only go as far as what that business owns, what that business holds, right? That's why some people would rather have their homes also owned by an entity and have their business owned by an entity. So now all things are owned by their own entities, their own corporations, companies, trusts, however you want to look at it. So this is more legitimate, but you usually have to pay into it, right? So, like, just as an example, let's say to start a sole proprietorship, it may cost you $100 a year, but like here in California, to have an LLC, you're paying an $800 fee. And now different states are different. Sometimes like the sole proprietorship might be $50 and the LLC might be $200, right? But usually because you are creating more of a corporation and a company, it's going to charge you a little more. So now you can see why people have this dilemma. Of course, people want to have a more legitimate corporation, but now it's going to be more money that if I'm new for business, if I'm new at business, if I'm not growing my business, if it's just me, if I only have one client and I have this $800 bill every single year, I'm going to feel like I'm losing a lot of money because it's just me, right? So a lot of people start with the sole proprietorship, but again, there's some legal risks to that, which you would have anyway if you were just a personal trainer going to the park. You would still have that same risk. This is why, and we're going to talk a little bit about this in a bit. This is why there's also paperwork to legitimize these things as well, right? So now you have your paperwork, your waivers, your contracts, your documents to create some type of protection, whether you have a big business or a small business or whatever. I mean, think about anytime you purchase anything, right? You download an app, you buy a phone, you buy a car. There's all this paperwork because it's like we have to kind of waive reliability and set the expectations forth of what this agreement is. And you either agree or you don't. And usually it's very one sided to protect the company, right? Like a lot of agreements are like this may or may not work and it's not our fault and you have to just take the risk because we're not going to guarantee anything, and because we want to try it we just sign. Sometimes when you go to like, I don't know, a theme park or whatever, like you're waiving liability that the machine could break sometimes, like it's usually on the business side. And you starting your business, you have to know that if you have the proper documents, you have the proper registrations, you're kind of protecting yourself and your business. So LLC, limited liability corporation. Now, once you do this, though, you can hire people, okay? Because you get what is called an EIN. an employment ID number, I think, identification number. So it's think about it like this. When you form your limited liability corporation, which is like the first level of starting a business, um, you are going to get an ID registered to that business. And now you use that ID as like the social security number to create all the accounts, the employment accounts, the tax accounts, everything goes under the business. Now you have separated yourself from the business. The business is its own entity, it is its own thing with its own, for lack of a better term, social security number. It has its own tracking number, and that's what you use for everything that the business does. So it's an EIN, and every business has one. And now what does this do? Well, it allows you to separate yourself from the business. The business is a standalone business, which means now you can hire people, you can set up, payment, like payroll around it. You can have, like I said, bank accounts, um, and you can have the legal protection, like I keep saying. And it just kind of legitimizes it just one more level. It also changes sometimes the way your taxes are paid, right? So now, let's say in your state, or those are you guys that are out of the country, usually how you're filing this, I don't know, right? I just don't know what other countries do with businesses. But hopefully today's episode can still help you kind of think about like where you're going to do some research, and that would be helpful. But out here, if you're a sole proprietorship, right, just like the first level that we said, where you are the business, you just have a different name, um, you're going to get taxed as an individual. And so at some point, when you make enough money, that tax may be higher than what a business tax is, right? So let's just as an example, let's say that when you are just reporting your income, you get charged 30%. But you may realize that once you break, I don't know, $75,000 a year, a company actually gets charged 20%, or they get charged 20% on the first 100,000, and then, whatever, 30% on anything above that, right? So this is the technical aspect of business. This is the part that the common people don't understand. This is why they don't understand why certain people get certain tax breaks and things like that. But the reality is that this system has been created to entice people to start businesses. I won't get into that topic today, but like, you know, we're better off when more of us do business. For yourself and for the community, a lot of benefits come from it. But unfortunately, people have fallen away from that. And so now we have a big gap. We have a lot of employees, very few business people, right? So that's a topic for another day. But that is how things start to break down, right? So once you legitimize your business and you have employees and you are taking on higher risk and you are moving more money and you are bringing more money into the city, there may be certain tax breaks that the city does to keep you doing that, right? They want you to have employees and they want you to bring in a lot of gross, because the city is also going to tax you. The state is going to tax you, right? So there's certain pros and cons to it, right? If you're on your own, you're not taking risk, you're not employing anyone, all the money is yours. Sometimes there's a higher tax. When you are employing people, when you're paying taxes, when you're paying into the city, right? When you are participating in this system, sometimes there are tax breaks. So I'm just saying, and I'm not saying which ones are which. You guys, I have no idea what they may be. At some points, it's better to be, a sole proprietor. At some points, it's better to be a limited liability corporation, sometimes an S corp, sometimes you incorporate, right? Just at different levels. I'm not going to get into all of these things. I'm talking at usually the level where most of us are going to be. Um, but different things change, right? And that's part of becoming a business owner and an entrepreneur. Is the more you go at it, the more you grow, the more you understand certain logistic things that happen behind the scenes that are not just, like I always say, it's not just squats, it's not just lunges, it's not just mountain climbers, it's not just flyers, it's not just a website, it's not just I have 1,000 followers on Instagram. There's legitimate back of the house things that happen, that as you evolve, you start to learn and realize Okay, you know what? I should have an LLC. You know what? I should start a different company, a different entity doing business as. I should move my company out of this state and move it to another state, right? I should look into the rules in the city next to us. Maybe I can go one block over, take my city, take my business out of this city, move 1 mile down the road, and I would have a different set of rules that are more beneficial to me, right? And that's the understanding of business that most people don't understand. You have to look out for yourself, and the city, state, and the country have to do a good job to keep you there so that they can also tax you and keep some of your money. But if they overtax, you may leave. If they undertax, they may not have enough money to have, police officers and fire departments. So there's a balance of where we all feel comfortable. That's, again, not the topic of today, but just so you guys can kind of see that. So there are legal reasons, there are tax reasons as to why you want to do it. So an LLC, just to finalize it, if you want to go to that level, that's how I keep my company. It's very basic. Limited liability. The business has its own entity. It allows me to hire people. It allows me to have my accounts set up there. And it allows me certain tax changes as if instead of just being on my own, right? But I had to do that in order to, more than anything for me, the biggest thing was I wanted to hire employees, and it was going to prove harder and more risky if I didn't evolve into that. But if you're just starting off, it's a good place to start, to just go and create a limited, a sole proprietorship. All that means, sole proprietorship. It's just you and you are the business. That's a good place to put it. And you can kind of grow into the next level, right? Once your business grows and you feel comfortable paying those $800 to get those benefits, maybe you're thinking about getting a location. Maybe you're thinking about hiring people, right? You have to think, though, those numbers have to really be proven for you to feel comfortable taking that next step. I talked about this already a little bit, but just license and permits. Um, I'm not sure if I covered this well enough in the beginning, but I just make sure to say this. You want to make sure that you go to your local city first and see what the requirements are before you do anything else. Just because you, let's say you want to get an LLC right off the bat and you're going to do your business in a local business. You can almost do it all at once. Once you find a place that you want to run your business out of, right? Let's say you find a location. I love this location. Before you do anything, you go to the city where that location is. You look up at the address, you figure out where the city hall is. You go to the city hall, there's going to be a department there for businesses or for permits, right? You can ask around the front desk. There's always someone to guide you. You go to that department and you say, "This is the address where I want to start my business. I just want to make sure that I can have a gym, a personal training business, a massage studio, an art studio," right? And I'm just giving you examples so that you guys realize it's not just personal training. People go through this same process when they want to open up an apparel company. Let's say, okay, I'm going to sell shirts. I'm going to still go to City Hall and say, "Hey, I want to start a clothing store in this location. I just want to make sure that everything's on the up and up before I sign a lease." And they know this, right? I learned it from them. They were like, "Well, make sure that we have everything before you sign your 1 year, 3 year lease or whatever." So you want to make sure to do that. They may require that you have a copy of the lease. So what you can do is still start at the location level first. Ask them for a sample agreement for you to review, right? And they'll give it to you if business is going well. And I mean, like, if everything's moving along, you can say, "Okay, I need a copy of it to review it and to make some changes if I need to," right? Because there is like back and forth here, right? We have to come to terms. So there's negotiating. But whatever that is, they will give you a sample copy or a copy that is not the official agreement until you sign it, but you can have it. So sometimes the city may require to see the agreement and kind of run their own whatever that they need to do. They look at the agreement, they see that you're moving forward, and they're going to say, "Okay, before we sign off," because they have to sign off to put you in the books in that city. Before they sign off, they're going to need your EIN. You see, they're going to need your business's number. They're going to need the location. and they're going to need to sign off that you pass the requirements. I'm going to give you examples of things they're going to do. They're going to see that there's no fire hazards. They're going to see that it's maybe wheelchair accessible if that's necessary. They're going to do a background check on you to make sure that you are not, a criminal or a fraud, right? So all of these things start to line up when you go to the city. Now, the city gives you a permit. So the city has to do with your location and your business in their city, and they're going to give you a tax as well. So every business in your town, they pay a tax separate from the personal, separate from the federal. I just want to educate you guys on this so you guys can just learn more about your city and business and how it all functions, right? You just get in your car, the lights turn on, the fire department arrives, the police are monitoring the streets, but all of this a lot of times are being funded by businesses as well, right? So I'm just kind of shouting out local businesses and small businesses. Um, but they're going to make sure that you are legitimate, and they're going to tax you. It's a smaller amount than your personal and your federal, right? It's the smallest one out of all of them, but they will tax you a bit every year as a permission to do business in their city. Okay. You are free to move to another city next year if they have better benefits for you. And sometimes it just happens. You may move your business, a few miles down the road when your lease is up, you need a bigger location, whatever happens, you may move your business, and now you have a whole set of new things. You have to go through the process again over. So just remember that the city level is its own thing. It has its own permits, but it also has its own requirements. So that's, the city permit and your location. And even if you don't have a location, there may be permits required for you to run your mobile business in that city as well, right? So every business has a business permit, a business ID number as well in the city, and a registration under what category it is in, so that they can keep track of what city, what they have and what they don't have, and what they have too much of in that city. So there's that. There's the LLC. There's the sole proprietorship. And things like that, right? So that's part of setting up your business. This is a bit more on the actual running the business side, but I wanted to talk about this. Um, you want to make sure that you have your paperwork. I kind of mentioned it earlier, but this is a big issue that people have with their businesses, right? They start businesses, but they don't actually have the infrastructure to run their business. So if you want to run a legitimate business, I'm going to give you examples of things you need. You need obviously your contracts. You need waivers, meaning that they are signing that maybe, the workout isn't going to give them what they necessarily expect. Paperwork on what those expectations are from the trainer and from the client. The contracts themselves, the software to take the payments, a credit card reader, right? So a lot of people are still running just cash, just check. I'm telling you, if you're looking to expand, at some point you're going to have to figure out what you're going to do to take these payments, right? Because what happens is, I'll give you an example why I've always had a software company, a credit card processing company, because in personal training, sometimes people want to pay up front $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 to purchase a whole package, right? Maybe you have a bundle, or they can pay for, let's say, even if you have a monthly membership, you may have an option where they pay for a year. Usually people are not going to go and get cash to give you $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 in cash. Also, business happens fast, right? So this is something that a lot of times we don't know about business. Business has to happen here and now. You don't want people to leave and come back. Anything can happen. On the way home, they get a flat tire. The tire now is going to be $500. Those were the $500 that they were going to spend on personal training. And now they're going to pause their training while they fix the tire. And then next month they'll be back. But next month they're going out of town, and now you've just lost a client. So you want to do business every day, every moment. You want to be ready. So when you start your business, when you legitimize your business, are you ready to go? When you show up, do you have the questions you're going to ask? Do you have the prices, right? Sometimes trainers don't even have that. Prices, different packages, different bundles, different options for payments, how I take your payment, the account that payment is going to go to. So that needed to be set up prior, right? So you have your business account, you have your card processing linked to that business. Every time you take a payment, it goes into your business account. Every time you take a payment, you have a contract and a receipt. Every time they get sessions, you have a way to measure how many sessions they have with you so that they know that they have 10 sessions, so that you know you have 10 sessions, so they know that they got the service that they signed up for. Or are you just trying to keep track in your mind or in a calendar, right? That's not a legitimate business. You're kind of running a rinky dink business. If you want to legitimize it, have proper paperwork. And here's the beauty of how it all ties together, right? When you have your company registered and you registered your name, all of your contracts, your business, your accounts, the receipts, everything is going to be under this entity, right? So it starts to legitimize all of it. So now the name on your shirt, the name on the wall, the name on your car, the name on the contracts, the name on the receipts, the name in the account, it's all coming together and you're starting to legitimize a business, which now gives it a bigger aura. It becomes more known. It becomes, more respectable. It becomes more dependable, right? When you have all your ducks in a row, people like doing business with you, right? People are not going to like doing business with you. People are not going to respect you. People are not going to want to spend a lot of money if you are just kind of, you know, winging it, right? Just, okay, I just kind of remember your sessions. I kind of just, just take the payment and then I'll see you next week, right? You want to legitimize the paperwork as much as possible. And this last one is just a tip. You want to set up your online funnels, okay? Any business that you have, you need to make a list of all the ways that people find your business. All right? I'm just throwing this in here. Business advice, Yelp accounts, neighbor accounts, like, what is the one that we have here? There's like, I don't know, there's a neighbor account that kind of shows people the businesses around. So um we have Yelp, you have your business, you have your socials, right? That could be Facebook, Instagram, anything else. Um, your Google account, your possibly Yelp, no, not Yelp, Yahoo, Bing, um, all of these things, all of these search engines, all of these socials, all of these websites. Um, you need to start to create congruency with them. What does that mean? You need to, and this takes time, but you need to the best of your abilities, make sure that your Yelp has your website, all of the information, all of the pictures, all of the videos. It stands alone to represent your company, but it also has all the information to dig deeper into your website. When they go to your website from Yelp, what's on the website? If they, can they go from your website to Yelp, and can they go from Yelp to your website? Can they go from your social accounts to your website? Can they go from your website to the social accounts? Can they go from socials to Yelp and Yelp to socials? Right. So it's this web, this connectivity that needs to begin to develop if you want to have a good functioning, legitimate business. This is a different side of it. It's not just the technical setup side, but it's just the back end side again that is going to make everything flow, right? But I can't tell you how many times people have this account, but not this account. Or a lot of people have a way to get people to their website, but when you go to the website is not built right yet. So my question is, why would you want people to go to a website that is no good? Or why would you want people to go to a Yelp that has no reviews? Right? Because I see that a lot too. Sometimes people are like, oh, this is my Yelp link on my website, and you go and it's just one review. Why would you want to show that? Now that just shows me that you don't, I don't know. Like, it's just, you have to think about the big picture, right? So you may want to start by asking your people to kindly leave a Yelp review until you build that up, and then you link it, right? You might have, a social media account that goes to your website, right? But you have to first make sure that the website is built and works well. And this is an ever, lasting thing, right? When people Google you, right? A lot of you guys, this is going to hurt. This is going to hurt, but this is a great way to like look at your business and how legitimate and how big and how, um, you know, how your business is represented online. Think about, um, I want you to go to Google, go to wherever, and just type in the name of your business and see if you can find it. Right? This hurts, but this is another aspect of business. Where's your business on the internet? Right? So that's something to think about. Where's your business on the internet? And now you have to also think about, okay, if I want to be a legitimate business, if I want to grow, and we're about to get to the growth changes and stuff like that, if I want to do that, where do I need to be in this? Or is there a different way that I can do it through social media, through ads, through a website like Yelp, third party, or anything like that, right? So something to think about. Now let's talk about changes. Okay, so the second part of the question, we were talking about when do you make changes to match your growth? Okay, so let's say everything is going well. Everything's going well and we want to grow. I'm just going to give you 4 to 5 things here that I just kind of think about when I'm thinking about growth. And also, there's just mistakes that I've made myself around growth. Sometimes I've grown too early. Sometimes I've taken too long to grow. So this is a tricky thing. What I will say is a lot of things are just experience. Okay. So before we get into it, I want you to know part of being an entrepreneur, part of being a business person is the mistakes that every single successful business person has had to make. That's part of it. Without making the mistake, you don't get the reward. So it's this kind of catch 22, right? You want to know so that you don't make the mistake. But the only way to know is through the mistake. And a lot of people, we want the reward, we want the business, we want the reputation, we want our logo to be known, we want the clients, we want the locations, but we don't want all of the issues and situations and headaches and mistakes and years of trial and error that come, that all the people that you see that have done it have had to live through, right? There's a lot of things that I've had to live through that I just can't sit here and complain about and, cry me a river, right? Like, you can't fall to the victimhood of all of the sacrifice and headaches and issues and situations that you run into year after year of being an entrepreneur and personal trainer. It's part of the job, it's part of the process, it's part of making you who you need to be, right? When I sit here and I give you guys this message, the message comes from not just because I started a business and I did great. Why does this podcast work? Has it had an effect on you guys? Because it comes from the issues that I've had to deal with. Without those issues, there's no business. Without those issues, there's no podcast. Without those issues, there is no personal trainer hustle. All of it is built around the issues that I've had to resolve and overcome. And the more I go, the more issues I have to solve, the more people I have to hire, the more personalities I have to deal with, the more marketing I have to do, the more clients I have to have in the gym, right? The more my payroll goes up, the more my taxes go up, the more the size of the location matters. What if the economy changes and we have less and I have to get rid of people and I have to downsize and I have to upgrade? And there's so many things. Okay. There's so many things, but I'm going to give you some things that I thought about today when it comes to when do we, what is it? When do we make the changes to match your growth? Okay. Well, number one, you have to have growth, right? You have to have growth. But here's one thing that I think about all the time. Are you making enough money to cover the growth that you want to have? Okay. So, what does that mean? It's simple mathematics. Okay. Growth is a little bit of predictability, a little bit of the past, the present, and the unknown, and then doing math around it. Okay. So, do you make enough to cover the growth? What does that mean? What a lot of people don't think about is that every time you try to grow, there is usually an expense attached to that growth. Okay. And you need to be able to survive the investment that you're about to make in order to get the reward. So I'm going to give you a very basic example, because this happens all the time when you're a new trainer, when you get your first location. I heard it a lot when I started. When you have a gym, a lot of people say like, "Oh man, can't wait till you get to the next location, the bigger gym," right? And I have just a private little training studio, right? It's just one-on-one training, so it's not a huge facility. But everybody always thinks bigger is better. Oh, you have 3 employees? Oh man, it's going to be awesome when you have six. You have a 1,000 foot square location. Oh man, are you trying to get it to 2,000 square feet? Oh, you have 100 members. Oh man, I'm trying to get it to 200, right? And we think only about the growth, right? The big part. Oh, I got to 50 clients, man. I'm gonna get another location so we can get 70, so we can get 100, right? There's a lot of things that go into this. What you need to always do is do the math. This is what a lot of people don't do. Let's say, I'll give you a perfect example of something that I think about in my gym, right? The moment that I expand my gym, let's say I get a bigger location to match the growth, right? what's going to happen is when I match that growth and I get, let's say, double the size probably means double my rent, right? So if my rent, let's say, is $3,000 a month, in order to grow, I have to get a location where it's going to be $5,000 or $6,000 a month. Let's say if I'm doubling, right? And the number can be anything. So now I have another $3,000 that I have to make up for with income. But here's the thing, I also need more employees. So not only do I have another $3,000 of rent expense, but I also have another $4, $5, $6,000, $7, $8,000, right? If I have a six-figure employee of expense. So now this, let's say it's $6,000 for an employee plus another three. So 6, 7, 8. So $9,000 plus another $1,000 for the extra taxes, for the extra light, for the extra, AC that we're going to be running, right? The electric bill. We're going to need more water for the clients. We're going to need to wash towels a lot more. And so this is an extra, let's just say $10,000 expense. So when I'm going to grow, is my move right now going to net me more than $10,000? Is it worth what I'm about to do? Now, the answer I cannot give you, and the answer is worth it at times. Maybe yes. Maybe your $10,000 investment that you're about to make to grow is going to net you another $10,000, right? You're going to double it. So sure, let's do it. Right. I am going to get another employee, but man, based on how we're growing, based on how many clients we're getting, what we're charging, the demand for this, based on that, dude, I'm going to make $20,000, $30,000 off of these $10,000 that I'm going to add to my expense. Let's do it. But that's up to you. A lot of businesses, especially in personal training, are not going to generate the amount of money that it takes for the growth. So that's all I mean when I say, hey, do you make enough money to cover the growth? Not only can you, because there's two levels, right? Number one is, does it make sense to do that? And number two is, even if it does, do you have the money to fork up in between now and when it works out? Because it might take you 3 months to get enough clients to fill up that extra space. It might take you 6 months. If you make some mistakes or if the economy changes, it might take you a year to make up that. So can I pay that employee? Can I pay that extra lease? Can I do all of that and survive it while we catch up to the next level, right? So there's something to think about there. And there's more to it, because maybe, let's say, you're already really busy. Okay. Um, okay. So number two, let's say you're already busy. Okay. You're like, dude, I have, whatever. Let's say you're an independent trainer. I don't know your situation, but let's say you're an independent trainer. You already have 15 clients. They train 2 to 3 times a week. You're going to their homes. You're like, dude, I am kind of jammed up here, Okay. A lot of times we want to hire someone on, or we want to contract someone to help us out. Okay. Couple of things to know here. This is the big one. Is your growth predictable? Okay, because you need a certain level of predictability. Now, there's no guarantees in business. There's no guarantees in life of anything. Some of us may not be around tomorrow. Like, there's no guarantees of anything. But to the best of your ability, can you predict systematically how you're getting this client? How you got to these 15 clients? How did you get so busy? If you have a system that you can replicate that got you this busy, and now you can reasonably predict that how long it's going to take you to get this next person to have 5 clients, 10 clients, 15 clients, just like you. Right now, there's other levels to this, but that's something that people don't consider, right? I'm busy, but I don't know how I got busy. And so the issue is going to be that the moment that you try to grow, you don't know how that happened. It's not predictable. It's not repeatable, right? You want to be able to replicate it to a certain degree, because in training, there's ups and downs, right? Maybe people train with you because they like you, but the moment that you put them with someone else, they may not like them. And so again, you bring someone on, people aren't training with them. I'm telling you, because I've had this issue for many years, right? Every year we get a little better at training our trainers, hiring better people, training them up, figuring out what those things are that we need to have for people to want to train at our gym, right? And everybody's different. But replicating yourself, replicating your success, and sharing it onto someone else is not always as simple as just hiring someone on. You have to have um, a vision. You have to have predictability. You have to have the ability to replicate certain things, right? Certain aspects of your training, not all of it, but certain aspects of how you do things. Can you create a system to where other people can do it the way you do it? At least I heard an advice that really helped me out once, but if they can do it like 70% as well as you can do it, that's usually at the best you're going to get out of people, right? Because they're just not you. They're not going to think like you. They're not going to do things like you. But this is just an example. Again, I don't know exactly how you're thinking about growth, right? But growth can be measured through the amount of clients that you have. It could also be measured through revenue, right? So it just depends on where you're at. But again, there has to be a certain level of experience in business so that you know what you're doing. You know your marketing, you know your funnels, you know who to talk to, you know where your calls are coming from, you know how many people visit your website, you know how many people send you DMs. There is some level of predictability. Now, there's another level of growth, and that is maybe you don't need to hire people. I always tell people that sometimes this is another great way to grow, especially when you're just a single trainer doing the training. You can also increase your rates. You can increase your packages, right? You can go to 1 year packages. You can go to 3 or 4 times a week packages, or you can just increase the per session rate. That's another way to grow. How do you know how to do that? I always say build your foundation first, right? So, and this is a system that we also use at my gym. Even though I have employees, I use this system in my gym as well, even with the employees. First thing we do is get you busy at a level that we know that people are willing to pay for your service. And now it's up to you to prove that you are worth more. And now your income will also increase based on your level at the gym, right? Your income is tied to what people are willing to pay to work with you. So you want to become, whether you work at a gym or whether you work on your own, this is a very, very good piece of advice here. So listen up. Become what do you call it? Become a limited resource at the gym. Make your time be the most valuable time. How do you do that? Well, be the busiest trainer. Be the trainer that everybody wants their time. And in the beginning, you can't do that, right? You can't say, "Oh, I only charge this much." Dude, you're not busy all day. I need you training so you get the experience, so you can learn your value, so you can learn how to program, so you can the only way to increase your true value is to train more people because now you become a truly experienced deep trainer. But you got to start where you are, right? So let's just as an example, you start off charging $50 or whatever. Once you have a schedule where you feel comfortable, okay, I filled it up. I'm pretty successful at this level. Now you make a decision at some point. You go, you know what? The only way I'll take on a client is if they pay 60. Now that means you're going to lose some people, but you're also going to get better quality people. And that's perfectly fine because you didn't have all the time in the world to fill in your schedule anyway, right? So your time is valuable, right? You have a premier product, which is you. And so when people know that you're busy, when people know that it's hard to get on your schedule, if you say, hey, it's another $10, and they don't have to know what you used to pay, right? This is my new rate. And you're going to find somebody that pays 60. And you now begin to replace your old clients, not on purpose, but clients fall off eventually. But you start only taking on people at this next level. And then you build your new foundation there. And now when you feel certain, you take it up another 5, 10, $20, however you want, or longer packages, right? You used to do month to month. Now you do only 3 months. Now you do only 6 months. However you want to do it. If you have the flexibility when you work on your own, you can do that. If you work at a company, you can just ask, what would it take to get to the next level? What does that look like? And they're going to tell you, okay, show me that you can sell 3 of these packages. Then I'll believe you. Because here's the other thing. A lot of people, again, we want the growth, but we haven't proven it to ourselves. So when you fill your schedule up with people at a certain rate, even though it's not the rate that you want yet or that you think you deserve, you need to build your confidence. And when you build that confidence at a certain rate, you can sit across the table from someone or next to them, just like sometimes I say, you know, why you want to sit next to them, but you could sit with someone and say, this is the rate, this is why it's valuable. I've proven it time and time again. And you're going to feel confident in presenting that rate because you have something to base that new rate on. The issue is when we start, we don't know what people are willing to pay for training. We don't know how good we are. But once we've been training, once we built a client base, now we feel comfortable and confident enough to bring it up a little bit. And you can continue this process over and over and over again. Build a new base at a new rate, increase. Build a new base at a new rate, increase, right? But now you have that safety net of always having clients. And now you don't have to go and hire a bunch of people. You just continue to build to the point where you are the number one trainer in your city, in your state, on the internet, online, whatever it is, right? Whatever it is that you do, you've built yourself up, and you've learned, like I said when I opened up this part of the episode, you've learned what it takes to be that type of brand through trial and error for so many years, right? You have the reputation, you have a bunch of people, your name is out there, your cards are out there, your videos are out there, your content is out there, referrals are out there, results that you gotten when other people are out there, right? So you're just going to kind of build upon it, right? You get one person results, the neighbor's going to want it, their grandma's going to want it, their daughter's going to want it, right? So you build your brand up to where you are like, okay, man, I know that this trainer is double what all the other trainers are, but this is what you get, right? Because at the end of the day, it's either worth it or not, right? But you build into it. So that's one way to grow, is increasing the packages, the amount that you pay, the monthly amount that they pay, the yearly amount that they pay, the commitment that they make. You can change your numbers, but again, you don't want to do it too soon, right? You have to prove yourself, build a base, and then build upon it. It's just the safest, best way to do it. Um, Okay, another point here is your systems. So I talked about it a little bit already with replicating yourself, but being systematic about your business is going to allow you to grow, and it's going to feel natural. It's going to feel organic. It's not going to feel forced. It's not going to feel confusing. If you have a system, if you have a system for your sales, if you have a system for your consultation, if you have a system for your assessment, if you have a system for people that call on the phone, how do we answer the phone? How do we get them here? How do we market, right? Do I have a system to get people to come to the website? Do I know how many people sign up every month, right? Systematizing your business is going to give you the confidence, and it's going to show you that you can grow. If you don't have a system, then you're confused. You don't know what to do because everything is happening outside of your control and outside of being predictable, right? So systems is going to be one of the big parts in growing your business. And there's books, right? There's a book called The E Myth. Okay, so I'm going to give you guys some resources right here. One of the great books you can read is called The E Myth, the letter E, The E Myth. And that is all about making your business run without you. If you can learn how to do that and apply it, you're going to know that you can grow, right? Because it's predictable. There's a system in place that allows me to grow. Another book is called Traction. Again, similar idea, how to create systems in your business in order for you to like have, again, that predictability, that structure, that, your ability to duplicate yourself. All of those things are part of growth. So Traction is one book, and it's black and orange. It's a black and orange cover for the most part. I don't remember who wrote it. And then the other one is a white book, and it just says The E Myth. Just some resources. If you're interested, those are great books, great resources, and starting to understand this legitimizing of a business and growth of a business at that next level. And then the last thing I wanted to talk about today is scalability. This is a harsh reality of life sometimes, okay? What is the size of the market? How many people can you even get, right? This is a lesson I had to learn the hard way. Sometimes we think so much about growth, but we don't think about the size of the market. This is also an element that a young entrepreneur doesn't think about. We're so excited to start and to grow. We don't think about how far can this business actually get the way that it's structured, right? So, like, for example, if I wanted to start a business of people that like to draw on their forehead with this pen, right? I'm holding a pen right now for those of you guys, and it's personal face art, let's say, and I want to grow it into $1 trillion company, right? Well, you have to be real. You may be able to grow a business where people like to draw art on their own face and they buy courses and stuff like that. But what you also have to realize is that certain business have certain cap points based on the population of people that can even be interested in this product. And we don't think about that part sometimes, right? So I just took an extreme example because anyone can see and just kind of ponder and wonder and go, "Oh, I don't know if you're going to make $1 billion off of face paint. Maybe, but you'd have to change it, right? Maybe you sell the paint. Maybe you sell non-toxic. Maybe you sell only to children. Maybe you sell it overseas to a different country where they have a TV show where people love to paint their face like this character, right? I don't know. But there's a lot of thought process that goes into scalability. How can I scale? Another thing is complexity of the service. If the service is very complicated, then only certain people are going to be qualified to work for you. And that is an element that you have to consider as well. How many people, what's the pool of employees that I can gather? And what's the pool of clients that I can gather in order to make this service the amount of people that I want, right? So what is that amount of people and how many people are qualified to help me do it? So there's just again, these are elements of scalability. These are elements of numerical facts of life, right? So if you live in a little town in the mountains and you want to have a personal training gym where you have 1,000 members, that may not be possible where you're at, or you may have to completely change your marketing, or you may have to completely change what it is that you're actually selling in order to make it work. So, yeah, maybe if what you have up in those mountains is of high enough value to people, for one reason or another, whether it's social value, whether it's monetary value, where it's whatever the value is, right? Maybe you save their lives if they can make it up to this mountain. A lot of people are going to make that trek, right? So again, it's what you do, how you market it, and the team that's going to help you do it. There's a lot of different elements, but again, scalability. What is even the potential of your idea to be as big as you think it can be? Are you within the realm of possibility, or are you trying to create something that is not going to happen the way that you're doing it right now? Right. So if you're selling only one on one training, only out of your home, the idea that you're going to charge, $500,000 a year, let's say, or $500 a session, and you're going to have 1,000 clients and you're going to service them all yourself, is not within the realms of possibility for the most part. Now, again, it's not to say that dreams have to die, but you have to be pliable. You may have to change what you give them. You may have to change where you do it. You may have to change how you do it. You may have to simplify it so that you can hire more people. Some people, watch this, some people start their own academies, their own institutions to train people so that they can work in their own companies. So they have to build a separate entity, a school, just to teach people how to do the job to come back and work in their own company. And it's all in the same company because they need certain people to have certain skills. And because it's too hard to find them, they're making them themselves. They're making their own employees by creating a separate entity, right? But again, they have to generate enough income to fund that to make it all worth it, right? So there's a lot of numbers that go into it, but sometimes you have to go to that level. So whatever this business I'm imagining that has its own school to teach its employees, maybe when they started, they thought, oh, I'm going to grow a business this big. And then they realized I have an issue. I cannot find people. So instead of giving up, they just fixed it. They said, I'm going to start a school to create my own employees. Problem solved. Now I can continue on my path to grow my business as big as I want. But again, what I said earlier, that's part of entrepreneurship. That person didn't even know that they were going to need a school, but the issue presented itself. They probably tried to hire people for 5 years only to realize I cannot find the people that I need. 5 years into it, they probably decide I'm going to start a school. And now we fix the problem, but it's a 5 year trial and error, a 5 year information loop to finally realize I need my own institution to fix this problem because I don't want to change my goal, right? So this is entrepreneurship. How big are your goals and how flexible are you in order to scale this thing to where you want to go? You might have to change your rates. You might have to change your logo. You might have to change the way you speak. You might have to change the way you train. You might have to change your website. You might have to change your colors. You might have to change the type of employee. You might have to change the pay structure. You might have to change how your company is whether it's an LLC or a corporation or incorporated or a DBA. You may have to change a lot of things to achieve the goals that you want, right? So This is entrepreneurship. It's this long-term trial and error of figuring out how you build your business, because your business is your vision. And so, I can tell you, oh, okay, you do this and then you raise the rate, but you might say, well, no, because I want to have groups. Oh, well, I can't give now the answer is a little different. Or you may say, no, I don't want to increase because my thing is to get it to as many, low income people. Okay, well then my solution doesn't work for that, because you are doing a business for low income people. So how can I say, okay, increase the rates, when clearly that goes against the vision of the business that you want to start? That's why just saying I have an answer, it's not enough. It depends on your vision. So I can only give you these ideas to kind of consider. And the last one that I mentioned today is just scalability, right? How big can this business get the way that you're doing it and envisioning it right now, and with the tools that you have right now? And how flexible are you in either changing your goal or changing the way you're going to get to that goal? And there's just a lot of flexibility that has to be involved in certain areas. You don't have to change your goal and your vision, but you may change the path that needs to be taken in order to get there. But it's just a question that I wish that I would have considered earlier, right? How scalable is my idea the way that I'm doing it right now, right? I'm doing one-on-one training. One trainer can only train a certain amount of people, so there's a cap on that, right? So how do I manage that? How do I increase the rates? How do I get trainers to earn more? How do we get more clients or better quality clients? Or do I need a bigger location, or do I just need higher quality clients, right? Higher, not quality as a person, but like higher paying, right? If I'm talking about only from the business side, do I need higher paying clients? Do I need more clients? Do I need more employees or less employees? Do I need a bigger space or a smaller space, right? Based on how I see it, I need to make those adjustments, right? So, how do you know when it's time to grow? Number one, you have to have already grown to a point where the growth is necessary. So, maybe that's the answer that you were looking for, and it's maybe that easy, but that's how I would answer that. Have you gotten to a point where you can't do it on your own anymore? Have you gotten to a point where you don't fit anymore? Did you get to the next level? And did you do it in a way where you have created a system around it so that you can duplicate what got you here? And it's going to be different. Again, there's flexibility involved and change involved, but have you proven yourself so far? A lot of times we're talking about growth and we don't even know how we got here. We don't have a plan on how we're going to get to the next level, right? We just know, like, okay, I'm getting busy, right? I should do something. But the reality is you have to think like a business person too, and have systems and predictability and repeatability in order to feel certain that when you grow, you can overcome the like I said in today's podcast, right? The losses that also come with growth. It's just part of growth, is that you're going to have to pay something up, either with time, energy, or money or something, so that's just kind of how it all works out. But anyway, got to get out of here. Got to get my workout in. Send in your own questions. If you have a question, send it in to personaltrainerhustle.com. There's a little tab there. All you do is fill it out, send your question in, and I turn it into an episode for the Personal Trainer Hustle Pod. And of course, follow my IG, right? New Instagram. So it's still brand new. There's not a lot of posts. There's not a lot of followers. There's not a lot of things going on, but I am getting back to everyone sending me DMs. So make sure to follow me at Personal Trainer Hustle on Instagram. Send me a DM. Let me know, how you found the podcast, any way that has helped you. If you want to add your question in there as well, you're welcome to do it that way. You can send me a question on DM. I'll get back to you. Maybe I'll turn it into an episode. We'll do something with it. But feel free to connect with me on Instagram at Personal Trainer Hustle. I will link it in the episode as well, just for easy access. All right. So I will talk to you guys soon.